This is Colleen Lemma, Starseed Astrologer and Spiritual Messenger from SacredSoulEmpowerment.com. Here to do your monthly angel card reading for November 2019. For this month's monthly reading, we'll be using the Sirian Starseed Tarot deck by Patricia Corey and Alyssa Bartha for the main message for everyone. And your special message card this month, depending on your stone of choice, will be coming from the Crystal Angels deck. So let's start by looking at what your stones of choice are. Okay, so these are 3 brand new stones that I just purchased at a psychic fair last weekend. So the first one, and this is something that I've never purchased before. I don't even know if I've seen one before. I mean, it's a common stone, but I've never seen it in a cluster. So it's a smoky quartz cluster. Now I have lots of smoky quartz crystals and a wand, but I've never purchased a smoky quartz cluster before. So this is unique for me, maybe not so unique in general, but you can see how it sparkles there in the light. I love this. So the smoky quartz is a stone that actually activates the root chakra, which is our center for security, stability, and manifestation. It also activates the solar plexus chakra, which is our center of willpower and confidence. The smoky quartz is a detoxifying stone. It detoxifies on all levels of your being. It helps to neutralize negative vibrations. It helps to eliminate negative thinking, worry, and confusion. And with it being a cluster, the clusters are always great for group work. So if you're doing any kind of group work, maybe you're teaching a class that, assists people in transmuting lower vibrational energies or working through their negative belief systems, for instance, this would be a great stone for any kind of group work. It's also a great stone for transformation. Okay, your second stone of choice, and I just love this, and I've never seen this before either. Although I have apophyllite, this is an apophyllite wand. So the apophyllite is a stone that aids in spiritual healing on a very deep soul level. This is a great tool to be able to use during healing sessions because it's in that wand form. And since it aids deep healing on a deep soul level, this is a great stone for that. It helps dissolve blockages in the physical body. It also helps to dissolve or eliminate emotional trauma that we have from childhood. And this helps to activate the third eye chakra and the crown chakra. Of course, third eye is opening up to psychic awareness, clairvoyance, and crown chakra, claircognizance, opening up to higher information and knowledge. And then the last stone of choice, and I do have some of this, but this was such a lovely piece I wanted to purchase it. This is azurite. You can see that deep blue of the azurite. It almost looks not even blue because it's so dark blue. The back side here. This is actually azurite in chalcopyrite, okay? So there's 2 different stones actually here, and the azurite helps to open, of course, the third eye, increase your psychic abilities, and helps to achieve a clear inner guidance. It also helps to activate the throat chakra because of the blue. So this is clear speech, channeling abilities, especially because the azurite increases our psychic abilities. So this would be great for channeling information from a higher level, but also speaking with integrity and honesty and truth. Now, the chalcopyrite is a stone that helps to remove energy blockages, and it allows the body and the mind to release stress. So again, your stones of choice are the smoky quartz cluster, the apophyllite wand, or the azurite and chalcopyrite. Okay, so let's talk about the energy of the month of November. Now, I just have to refer back to October's monthly reading. Because of the energy vibration of November, we want to go back and kind of review that October was a master number 22 numerology vibration. And that's because we took the universal year of 2019, which is a 12, and we added to October for last month, which is the 10th month, and we got master number 22. And we talked about that master number 22 as far as the master number vibration. We talked about it in its reduced form, which is the number 4. We talked about the 4th Major Arcana, which is the Emperor card. And then we talked about Major Arcana 0. And this is why I want to bring this up, is because Major Arcana 0 sometimes is referred to Major Arcana 22, because we have 21 Major Arcana cards in the tarot deck. And then we go back to the Fool card, which is, again, 0 Major Arcana. In numerology, we're never going to have a 0, because numerology deals with the single digits 1 through 9 and different ways to add them and subtract them. And so you're never going to get a 0 from adding or subtracting numbers, not unless you would subtract the same number from itself. But as far as the monthly vibrations, we're never going to get a 0. So in, again, some schools of thought, Major Arcana 22 is Major Arcana 0, and hence the Fool card. So if we now move to November here, the month that we're currently in, we have 12 universal year number for 2019. We add it to November, which is the 11th month, and we get 23. Now, of course, there's no 23rd Major Arcana, but first I want to talk about the vibration that it reduces down to. 23 is not a master number, it's not a karmic number. So we're going to add the 2 and the 3 together, and we're going to get the number 5. And the number 5 is all about change, redirection, freedom in numerology. And so this could pose to be a month of freedom energies, breaking free from situations, circumstances, breaking free from old energies, thought patterns, subconscious patterns. This can be moving into the realm of change as we follow up the last few months that have been pretty heavy duty for a lot of people, bringing up old karmic patterns and whatnot. So now we're in this month of November that signifies change and redirection is now here. It's time to redirect our lives. It's time to change our lives. The number 5 is about new people, new places, new things, new opportunities, and a lot of energy going on, a lot of busyness, either externally or busyness internally, which sometimes can lead to feeling anxiety or nervous energy within oneself. Oftentimes the number 5 is about wearing many hats, doing many things, having many goals. Multitasking is another thing for the number 5. So in other words, this could be a very eventful month as far as change, freedom, and redirection, and new things kind of coming into play. Now I want to look at what makes up that number 5, because again, the 11th month, November, added to 12 universal year adds up to 23. So we get that number 5 vibration that I just spoke of by adding the 2 and the 3. And the 2 is all about balance, equality, partnership, relationships. And so part of the change and redirection that we may experience this month is going to include or also be a part of the relationships in our lives. And because 5 is such a busy energy, it's like a roller coaster ride, twists and turns and chaos and confusion sometimes goes along with the number 5. And the number 2 says we need to stay balanced physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. We need to stay in a place of peace where we're not rocking the boat too much. And sometimes that means we have to meditate more, go out into nature more to ground our energies, etc. Now the number 3 of that 23 vibration that makes up the 5, the 3 is about expansion. The 3 is about communication and creative self-expression. The 3 is about prosperity and abundance and growth, which is why they call it the number of expansion. It's here to grow things. Now it can grow the prosperity, abundance, and blessings just as well as it can grow any fear or anxieties or negativity. So we want to make sure to stay on the positive end of what that number 3 can be about. The 3 is about our belief systems. So if we put that all together, we're dealing with relationships with other people, the need to stay balanced, and how our relationships, whether they be romantic, friendship, business, family, and how our belief systems regarding these relationships and the circumstances that we're in, which is the number 3, how our belief systems affect the change, the redirection, and the freedom energies that we're moving into for the month of November. Okay, so as I said, there's no Major Arcana number 23. So we want to look at Major Arcana number 5 if we're going to look at this from a tarot perspective, which I always do in the monthly readings. And the 5th Major Arcana, and I'm using the Sirian Starseed Tarot deck here, is called Guidance. Now, in the traditional tarot deck, the 5th Major Arcana is called the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is often a key. We call the Major Arcanas keys. This is the key that our soul is currently in as far as our evolutionary journey, or evolution and growth on our journey. The Hierophant is often referred to as a spiritual authority outside of ourselves to which we receive guidance, like a priest or a rabbi or someone else that has a lot of wisdom and knowledge, spiritually speaking, and we go to them for messages, for guidance. I like this particular key from the Sirian Starseed Tarot because it's entitled Guidance, and we see that there's a Buddha statue, I think it's a statue, a Buddha statue here on this card. And so this has a slightly different meaning than the traditional Hierophant key. This is about seeking your own internal guidance, not looking outside yourself to these other spiritual authorities, these other human beings. Now, I know a lot of us, we seek that external guidance, and maybe instead of the external guidance, we're seeking confirmation about something that we already feel or know. And so, again, it doesn't mean you can't ask other people for their opinions or their messages or their guidance, but just realize that this is a month where we're supposed to seek this guidance within ourselves, connecting with our highest spiritual essence, connecting with our higher soul self, okay? And again, you can connect with your angels and guides or the Buddha or the Christ consciousness or whatever have you, but realize too that you need to really trust your own inner guidance as you're traversing this month of November. We also see, I'm sure some of you do, there's a Sphinx energy here above the Buddha. And of course the Sphinx, an ancient Egyptian statue, if you will, that we often go on pilgrimages to go and see, and we're in awe of the detail of the Sphinx, the energy of the Sphinx, the power that it exudes. Now this Sphinx is kind of tilted up as if, again, it's looking up to the heavens. And a lot of people think that the Egyptian pyramids, the Sphinx, was all created according to the stars in the heavens, according to some connection with our star brothers and sisters of the light. So again, this is looking to higher guidance, looking to, the stars, but through your own inner guidance to connect with universal intelligence, to connect with higher awareness and a higher learning as we move through this month of November. Okay, so let's talk about the astrological highlights of the month of November. So I'm going to just try to hit the highlights. It doesn't seem at first glance that there's a lot going on, but the one thing that stands out is that we're still in Scorpio season, at least for part of the month. We're going to be transitioning soon into Sagittarius, but as we start out the month, we still have the Sun and Mercury in Scorpio, and a little bit later in the month of November, Mars, the warrior planet of energy and action, will be moving out of Libra and into Scorpio as well. Now, Venus through October was in the sign of Scorpio, but on the 1st of November, Venus, the planet of love and relationships, money and finances, moves into the sign of Sagittarius. So at least we have one planet here that's moving into Sagittarius, which is a fire sign, an inspirational sign, a creative sign, a sign of higher learning, higher knowledge, higher wisdom, a sign that's very expansive in its energy. It's a mutable sign, which means it's changeable energy. So here we have some of that changeable energy that's coming in with Venus moving into Sagittarius. Now, with Venus ruling love and relationships, she's going to be much more freedom-oriented through this month of November. for at least most of the month of November. She actually makes another sign change before we're completed with this month, but we'll get to that in a moment. But for the first portion of November, she's much more freedom-oriented and independent and self-sufficient when it comes to relationships and partnerships. She might even want to break free, at least for a short time, if not for a longer term time, from certain associations with other people. Again, she just wants her freedom. She wants to experience. She wants to have an adventure, so to speak, with Venus and Sagittarius. With money and finances, because Venus also rules money and finances, she is going to be more of a risk taker because Sagittarius is a risk-taking kind of sign. It sees the far-reaching future, it sees where it wants to go, and sometimes it will take that leap of faith and a risk to get to where it wants to go. So Venus, again, can be more risk-taking when it comes to money, or be more extravagant when it comes to money, just be more reactive when it comes to spending money. But Sagittarius is also the sign of blessings. So this can also bring in blessings of a financial and monetary nature, especially if you're following your passion. There is a sense of passion that follows Sagittarius, and it might be a different kind of passion with Scorpio. Scorpio is a very intense, emotional, and sometimes sexual passion. Sagittarius is more of a creative, inspirational, passion for life, love of living kind of passion. So we're going to have that experience as Venus moves into Sagittarius for the good portion of the month. The next thing that comes about that seems to be quite important is on the 5th of November, we have Mars still in Libra, the sign of partnerships. And it's challenging Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth and transformation. So Pluto rules Scorpio. Pluto is the modern ruler of the sign of Scorpio. Mars, however, is the ancient ruler of Scorpio. Before Pluto was discovered in 1930, Mars actually ruled that sign. So we have two planets both ruling that passionate, intense shadow side of Scorpio. Of course, it's also about transformation and transmuting and rising like the phoenix from the ashes. But it's in a challenging aspect. And Mars is that energy, action, warrior kind of planet. And Pluto is very powerful in its own right. Pluto can be like a volcano that holds on to energies and it builds up and then it kind of explodes like a volcano. So you have to be aware in the first few days of the month, I'd say the first week of the month, with Mars squaring Pluto or challenging Pluto as to how things might unfold or what might be happening there. And I'm not trying to, put any scare into anybody or anything like that, but just be more aware when you're driving, be more aware when people's emotions start to flare. You might want to remove yourself from certain groups or situations because it can sometimes be a little bit of a volatile energy. And the other thing that they're saying is to also mention weather patterns here because all of the planets rule weather in its own various ways. And Mars square Pluto could be earthquakes, could be volcanoes erupting, could be things of that nature that's happening somewhere on the planet. Of course, those things are happening a lot of times anyway, but there might be a resurgence or an increase, I guess, if you will, of that kind of thing happening and occurring. Then we skip to the 12th of November. And the 12th of November, we have a full moon at 19 degrees of Taurus, meaning the sun is at 19 degrees of Scorpio, the opposite sign. This full moon actually opposes Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. So it's significant because it's highlighting that Mercury retrograde in Scorpio energy. And Mercury retrograde is about redoing, revising, restructuring, all of those re-words. And Mercury retrograde is also when miscommunication can happen, confusion on a mental level with our thoughts and ideas and connections, communications with other people. Now with it being retrograde in Scorpio, it's a more intense energy. It brings up again people's shadow side and fears and anxieties, both within ourselves, but also the projection that's happening with other people. And because this full moon is opposing Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, it's most likely going to play out with other people. Whenever we have an opposition with two planets, that opposition, one thing opposing another thing, it's playing out with two or more people, and we're bouncing things off of one another like a mirror. So again, this particular full moon is at 19 degrees of Taurus and opposing Mercury retrograde, which we'll talk about a little bit later, as a little bit later this month he actually turns back to direct motion. The next thing that's significant is on the 19th of November, and that's when Mars moves into Scorpio. So we did have Venus moving into Sagittarius at the beginning of the month, but now on the 19th we have Mars moving out of Libra and into Scorpio. And remember, this is the ancient ruler for Mars. Mars is the ancient planetary ruler of that sign of Scorpio. So he's very comfortable there. He's very comfortable as the warrior there. He's very comfortable with forward movement and action in a very intense, passionate, and direct way, because Scorpio is a fixed sign. And the fixed signs can be rather stubborn with their energy. They see a goal and they go for it. They don't waver. They don't get off path or off track. You know, that Scorpio energy being fixed is kind of in a direct line here, especially with Mars entering Scorpio. And so for the rest of November, Mars will be in Scorpio and into the month of December. Then we come to the 20th, the next day. The next day after Mars enters his home sign of Scorpio, Mercury turns back to direct motion at 11 degrees of Scorpio. So that Scorpio energy, as I said, is still very much at play in this month of November. And even though we have that universal month vibration of the number 5, which is change and redirection and, you know, lots of things happening, it can be a little chaotic with the number 5. But yet we have a lot of Scorpio emphasis, which is interesting because Scorpio is much more, again, direct and consistent and passionate and you know, very deep waters. There's nothing superficial about Scorpio. And the number 5 sometimes is labeled as a superficial, you know, keep things light kind of number. So it's an interesting combination of energies that we have in this month. On the 22nd, we have the Sun moving into Sagittarius. So now both Venus and the Sun, as of the 22nd, are in the sign of Sagittarius, making things a little bit lighter, even though we had, you know, Mars go into Scorpio, which kind of balances out that lightness energy of Sagittarius. On the 25th, Venus is now moving out of Sagittarius and into Capricorn. So she moved really quickly through that fire sign of Sagittarius. Now she's in an earth sign. She moves into Capricorn, goal-oriented, ambitious, business, career, destiny path, money, finances, wants to work towards their goals to get to the top kind of thing. So Venus, the ruler of the divine feminine, is going to take on a much more serious energy, a much more grounded, practical energy as she moves into Capricorn now for the rest of this month and into December. On the 26th, we have a new moon at 4 degrees of Sagittarius. Okay, so this is when the sun and the moon are both in that sign of Sagittarius. Again, Sagittarius being higher mind, higher learning, travel, expanded perceptions, our philosophies of life. Sometimes it rules our religious philosophies in life. It rules inspiring energy, inspiration, creative fire energy, passion energy in that sense. And so this is a new beginning. New moons are about some sort of new beginning here of this energy that's taking place. On the very next day after the new moon, Neptune turns to direct motion at 15 degrees of Pisces. So pretty much for the whole month of November, Neptune is at its station point. It actually started out on the 1st at 16 degrees of Pisces and only retrograded back 1 degree, especially around the middle of the month of November. It was already at 15 degrees and it just kind of stayed there, moving just a little bit, just a few minutes. So it's been kind of at this standstill. And when a planet is at its station point or at that standstill point, it heightens the energy of that particular planet. And so here in this case, we have Neptune's energy vibration being intensified, and Neptune is all about the spiritual realm, things that are unseen or intangible. It rules unconditional love, it rules compassion, but it also rules addiction and chaos and confusion and things not making any sense. So we might see this combination of energies with Neptune at its stationary direct point. I'm also hearing the message that our physical bodies become much more sensitive as well, energetically as well as physically, during that heightening of that station point of Neptune. In other words, our bodies will become more sensitive to chemicals or to medicines or to herbs or to substances. Our spiritual bodies will become more sensitive to energies, will become perhaps even more psychic and tuned in on that higher level, but perhaps we become much more too connected to other people in that way, because we're all one and we're all connected, and Neptune rules the spiritual realm, so it kind of heightens that energy of this connection with other people, so we're picking up on other people's energies as well. And that's pretty much the highlights of the month of November. I wanted to go back and talk about Mercury turning to direct motion, and again, how it intensifies the energy. In this case, a couple days before and a couple days after, because Mercury is a more fast-moving planet than Neptune is. So it's intensifying this Mercury and Scorpio energy. So we might find our communications with others a little bit more challenging around that time. There might be some power and control issues. We might have some deeper, darker kind of shadow thoughts, if you will, during that time, a couple days before and after the 20th, when Mercury goes direct as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our messages from our angels and guides from the Sirian Starseed Tarot. And usually I have, or try to keep it for both the weekly readings and the monthly readings, to 3 cards. But I actually had several cards coming out of the deck, flying out, flipping out of the deck. And so we're going to look at all of those. Now the first card came out by itself. And as we turn it over, we have Major Arcana number 15, and it's entitled The Shadow. Now in the traditional tarot deck, this is considered the Devil card, and the Devil card is only about our own inner shadow side, which is why they label it the shadow in this deck. This is about our fears, our doubts, our anxieties, our confusion, our lack of, self-worth maybe, or, self-critical energies, self-judgment energies. All of these things are considered the shadow. And you can see there's a shadow of a couple of people here. They're within this spider's web. And right away, I feel like we should mention what the spider totem is about, since we have a spider's web here. The spider totem, when you see a spider, and it's a significant, odd kind of, association with that. I mean, we might see many spiders throughout our lifetimes, but every once in a while, like myself the other day, I was walking through my bedroom, and all of a sudden I seen this spider coming down on its web right in front of me. And so that would be a significant pay attention to this totem kind of energy. And with the spider totem, it's about weaving your own fate. And so we have the spider web here. Weave your own fate. It's also about magic and creation, because spiders create this intricate web, this intricate design. So they create, they're a magical creator energy. So when you see a spider, and here again, this addendum message with the shadow, is that we're weaving our own fate. We're creating our own reality. So pay attention and release the shadow side, release the fears, release the doubts, release the anxieties. Don't allow yourself to get pulled into that darkness. Now again, we're still in Scorpio season. We have a lot of Scorpio energies that are highlighted, as I said, this month. So it's not to beat yourself up if you do get pulled back into that, because we most likely will. We'll probably go through this ebb and flow and get pulled back into that energy at times. But it's definitely to move beyond that, to recognize that and say, wait a minute, I'm not going to go into that fear. I've had that fear before. I'm going to move out of the shadow, and I'm going to, move into the light. And there is a little bit of light here within this spider web. And these two shadowy figures perhaps are moving towards that light. So we need to think about, I want to move towards that Sagittarius energy, that creative, inspirational fire energy, and see things from a higher perspective, or a more positive and optimistic perspective, as often is the case with Sagittarius. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next card. And the next card actually came out as 2 cards, or flipped out, I guess, as 2 cards together. And the first of those, okay, we have a lot of shadow subconscious energy going on, because we have Major Arcana number 18 in this deck. It's entitled Luna. In the traditional tarot, this is the moon. This also deals with our subconscious fears and subconscious anxieties. It also deals with our heightened intuition and psychic senses. Now you can see this full moon here and how it affects the tides. And the full moon does affect the tides of the ocean, right? It wells them up. And the water element signifies our emotions. So I feel like this is talking about this full moon that we have in Taurus. Of course, the sun is in Scorpio, and it's opposing Mercury in Scorpio, which is retrograde at that time. So there could be a heightening of our empathic abilities, a heightening of our intuitions, a heightening of our psychic perceptions, but it could also be a heightening of any power and control issues or fears or anxieties that Scorpio is ruling within us. So again, around that full moon, as is often the case with full moons, people's emotions are going to be heightened. They're going to be more triggered more easily. So just be aware of this around the full moon. Now, let's see what comes out with the Luna card, and that might give us more of a message about that card. And we have the Two of Orbs. This is like the Two of Swords in the traditional tarot, or the Two of Air. And this is the realm of the mental body. The orb suit, the swords, is about our thoughts, our ideas, our thinking, our communications. And so the number 2 is about balance. So it is, about needing to stay balanced during this time of the full moon. And even, for most of the month, with the shadow card first, the moon card second. And now we're being asked to balance our thoughts, our ideas, stay balanced. I want to even say within your emotions, especially, even though this is not an emotional card, but to stay balanced. Do what you can to stay on an even keel. And stay balanced. There is 2 here. So let's say mental body, emotional body. Stay balanced. And you can even add the physical and the spiritual body. You might as well add all of the energetic bodies here. But there's definitely a need here to, and perhaps juggle things. We might be juggling things, situations, circumstances, relationships with our own inner journey and inner work and what we're dealing with. We're needing to kind of balance all of it and stay balanced as we move through that in this month. Now let's look at the last card, which actually, again, flipped out as 2 cards. I usually, a lot of times when I'm doing the weekly or monthly angel card readings, I often wait for cards to flip out, fall out. If they don't, I will, choose the cards, but I find that Spirit really speaks by throwing you the card. It flips out. Sorry about that, everyone. I've got deterred there with, I thought I had shut off and put on my do not disturb, and a call came in and shut my video off. So we're picking up where we left off with that last card. And just to reiterate, I was talking about how Spirit just speaks to me when those cards kind of just fall out and flip out. They really get quite active when I'm doing the weekly and monthly angel card readings by just giving me the messages that way. So the third card, which is really another double card, so we had a total of 5 cards for this reading, but the first of the last 2 cards, let's turn that over and see what that is. Okay, this is interesting because it's Major Arcana 0 and the Starseed card, which this was the highlighted card for the month of October when I talked about October being Master number 22, universal month vibration, and then we talked about the reduced number of the 4, the 4th Major Arcana, but I talked about Major Arcana 22, which is really Major Arcana 0 at the beginning of this video. So it's interesting that we have this energy repeating itself for the month of November. And in the traditional tarot, this card is entitled the Fool card. And the Fool card is often depicted as a fool, a person, with sometimes he's got like a knapsack or something on his back or on a stick, and he's kind of walking along a path. Sometimes he's at a fork in the road and he has to choose which path to follow. A lot of times he's taking a step off of a cliff, and not knowing how far down the bottom is. And what the Fool card is all about is about having trust and faith in some sort of new beginning. Because as he's stepping off the cliff, he doesn't know if something's going to catch his fall, or how long he's going to fall before he lands, or if he's going to land on his own 2 feet. And when it's depicted as a fork in the road, he doesn't know which direction to take, but he's got to trust and have faith that he'll make the right choice. So it's got that kind of energy feeling to it. As far as the changes of November coming in, we might have forks in the road, so to speak, these changes, redirections, new opportunities, new decisions to make, new energies coming in. It's all about this new beginning that hasn't quite manifested, and we just have to trust and have faith that we're going to be moving in the right direction, that we're going to be making the right decision. Now, with this particular card called Starseed, you can see that there's a ball of light that's coming down from the heavens, and it's just about to hit the planet. It's about to hit Mother Earth, but it hasn't quite done so yet. So this is metaphoric for potential that hasn't yet manifested. Okay, because this big ball of light, this creative potential, whatever magic is involved in this big ball of light, hasn't hit the earth yet. So it hasn't been grounded into manifestation. So here we have this great potential, and we don't know what that potential is quite yet, but we're trusting and having faith that that potential is there. The potential for a new beginning, and this potential for creative energy, this potential to have a new birth, basically, is about ready to manifest. So we can look at it that way, metaphorically, that something, a new beginning, an energy, a situation, a circumstance, is about ready to manifest, but it hasn't quite done so yet. It's getting very close to manifesting. And one might say, well, when is it going to manifest? It's already November 2019. We're almost at the end of the year. And perhaps it's going to manifest before the end of this month. Perhaps it's going to manifest before the end of this year. Perhaps it will manifest as we move into 2020, which is an interesting energy vibration in and of itself. So you'll have to, continue to come back and watch what that's going to be all about with that new vibration of 2020. And I'll give you a quick kind of sneak peek, if you will, about that. Is because 2019, which adds up to the number 12, 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 9, we reduce that down to a 3 by adding the 1 and the 2. So we have a 3 universal year, and it's all about growth and learning, expansion, possibilities that are creatively coming onto our path. So there was a lot here about our belief systems in the year 2019, and there was a lot of expanded energies. We could expand into the blessings and the opportunities that 2019 offered us, or sometimes we might have expanded into the fears and the anxieties and the doubts, because it being a year of expansion, there was nothing saying, are we expanding into just the positive potential, or are we expanding into the not so positive potential? So this is why it's called a year of learning. The number 3 is often about learning, teaching, all forms of communication. So it was about being the student of life. We were actually a student this year, learning about how our belief systems and how our thoughts create our own reality at any given moment. If we were thinking positively, that we could be co-creator and manifest something positive. If we were thinking negatively, we could manifest something not so positive. As we go into 2020, which is why I'm talking about this creative potential being ready to manifest, well, 2020, you have 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0, and we'll talk about it more in depth when we get to January. But the number 4, which what 2020 adds up to, is a number of manifestation. It's a number of grounded, practical manifestation. It's like having 4 corners of this card, or 4 corners of a box. The number 4 is more secure and stable, and it's about, again, creating form and stability with something. So this creative potential right here, getting ready to fall to the earth plane, the starseed, this pure potential of light and creative universal energy, it's more than likely that even if we see the beginnings of manifestation before the end of this year, it's going to be into 2020 to where something starts to really take form and shape. Okay, and then the last card, the card that came out with the starseed card, let's turn that over. Okay. Major Arcana 1. So we have Major Arcana 0, and the very next Major Arcana is Major Arcana 1. In the traditional tarot, this is the Magician card. In this deck, it's called Indigo. What does indigo mean? You know, indigo, we've used that term indigo to describe a person or a group of people that came in with special lightworker abilities. But the indigo energy is more warrior-like, because we often talk about crystal and rainbow children as well as indigo children. And, you know, crystal and rainbow is more creative and artistic and healing oriented, and doesn't have that kickback of that warrior energy like the indigo does. So we can look at this card as part of a message as to take charge and kick back, you know, basically, and be more warrior-like the indigo children are. But they're usually only warrior-like for the good of humanity, unless they're not supported in the most positive way when they're growing up. If they're not recognized for the gifts that they have, if they're not supported in their evolution and growth as they're a child and growing through teenage years and into a young adulthood, that warrior energy can become destructive. But here we want to talk about that warrior indigo energy as creative potential, you know, to kind of make something happen, to take action with this creative potential that's about to manifest. And just like the Magician card, which is the typical card for Major Arcana 1, the Magician is using your magical creative abilities to be co-creator with the divine, with the universe, to make something happen in your world, to create your reality, to know that you, along with the universe or God or source, are in this co-creative relationship, that you have this magical energy, these magical gifts, talents, and abilities like the indigo child or the indigo energy does. And here too, I look at this and I kept on wondering, what does he have in his hands here? And it almost looks like a crystal, I'm thinking. And it's like offering that gift, or is it receiving that gift? Is this indigo child offering the gift of his warrior-like, take charge, action-oriented, make a difference in the world energy? Or is he receiving the gift from the universe and being able to then channel that in a co-creative effort to, you know, create what he wants to create, but also create something that's better for humankind or for the collective or for the world? So this is a very powerful reading. It had a lot of Major Arcana cards, 4 out of 5. And it started out with, you know, the shadow and the moon or Luna, which is more of that scorpionic shadow kind of energy. In the middle, we had the balance card, the 2 of orbs, which is about balance. And then at the end, we had these 2 very positive and moving into a new beginning and using your creative, self-expressive, indigo warrior, positive warrior light energy to magically create what it is that you want to create. So this is a wonderful, powerful message for the month. Okay, so let's take a look at your special message card depending on your stone of choice. And as I'm shuffling these cards here, I want to thank everybody for hanging in. The monthly videos are often a little bit longer than the weekly videos as far as time, and I've tried to just kind of relax through the monthly video instead of trying to hurry up and get it done within 30 and 35 minutes. And I know that, again, it's an extra long video, but I want to get you as much information as I can energetically in the most relaxed and informative way that I possibly can. So I was sitting here shuffling as I was saying that, and look, I have a card sticking up. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out for the smoky quartz people. And it's angelite. Now, angelite is a beautiful blue stone. It's kind of like a light blue stone, not quite the color of turquoise, but light blue that relates to the throat chakra. So angelite here is going to activate the throat chakra, speaking your truth, speaking with honesty, speaking with integrity, giving messages, and perhaps even receiving messages. This would be a great stone for teachers or people that are speakers, educators of some sort. Now the message at the bottom says spiritual or religious community. And it says, join with like-minded people for friendship and increased spiritual growth. So it's interesting because, as I said, we're moving slowly into Sagittarius energy, and Sagittarius is the sign of the higher mind, and it does rule higher education, meaning beyond high school, okay, higher education, university, college level, or higher education on a philosophical or spiritual level, just meaning that our awareness is heightened with the philosophical information of other cultures, other countries, or the spiritual information from higher realms of existence. That's all higher learning means, is it's beyond our traditional grade school, junior high, or middle school, high school level information. This is like information out in the world, higher learning. So, we have that aspect here as far as increased spiritual growth. It's what I thought of as that Sagittarius energy when I saw the phrase increased spiritual growth. And then, of course, community. And isn't it interesting that I said that the smoky quartz being a cluster, a smoky quartz cluster, is great for group work. So if you chose this card, it might have been in relation to me saying that the stone was good for group work. And this is saying to be a part or search out that spiritual group of like-minded individuals. This could be you teaching a class. This could be you joining a spiritual group. It doesn't have to be in person. It could be online. It could be a group through social media or any other type of even support group, physically or online. But this is finding, and not just in a group setting, but I want to say through friends and associations too. Like when I went to the spiritual metaphysical fair and bought these 3 stones, that was kind of a spiritual group of like-minded people getting together. Even though I didn't know everybody and meet everybody, it was a group of people in a large room that all had similar belief systems. So doing things like that, attending events or classes or fairs where there's going to be groups of like-minded people, is indicated for you in the month of November. Remember that 5 energy of November, new people, new places, new things. So get out there, network, interact. I feel like that's your message here, or at least in part, that's your message for this month of November. Okay, so for those of you that chose the apophyllite wand, so let's give this a shuffle here. An apophyllite wand, people. Try to raise this up. Okay, the bottom one, oh goodness, I see one, I feel one. Actually, the one I feel on the bottom, I have like 3 or 4 cards. So I'm seeing this one that's sticking out, and that's the one I'm going to choose. And of course, this one pops up. Okay, so we're going to pull both of them. Okay, so the first one is citrine with unnecessary worries. Okay, so apophyllite people, you get a double message here. Whatever it is you're concerned about, anxious about, worried about, it's unnecessary. The citrine stone is a stone that cleanses away all negative lower vibrations just naturally and continually. So maybe you want to carry a piece of citrine, which is this golden yellow colored stone. It's got a happy, joyous, cleansing, and also a prosperous, abundant energy about it. Let's read the message at the bottom. Unnecessary worries, release the burden of worries by giving them to God for healing and solutions. We have this beautiful dove here, this dove of hope, this dove of peace. So again, anything that you've been concerned or worried about, maybe it's about moving, maybe it's about finances, maybe it's about a relationship or finding your soulmate or something within a home and family situation. Just know that your angels and guides are assisting you and helping you. And putting out that energy of fear and worry is that shadow side energy. It's that shadow side of fears and worries and concerns. And oftentimes, whatever is going to happen is meant to be. And oftentimes there's a course of events that needs to be taken or that needs to unfold for us to get to the next step. And oftentimes we just have to go with the flow and surrender to what that's all about, and that it's going to come out fine. Usually if you think back in time to things you were worried and concerned about, and then what you moved through, you can kind of also see that a lot of times you put out a lot of worry and concern for no reason because it turned out just exactly as it was supposed to anyway. Even if it was something different than what you expected, or you were moving, or you moved into a different place, energetically speaking, metaphorically speaking, than what you thought, it still turned out the way it needed to, and it still led you to the next step on your path, which potentially and probably usually led to a more positive way of being. Now, the card that came out with it is aquamarine and divine life purpose. So again, unnecessary worries, because you're on path, you're on track, and you're on your path. You're moving towards your divine life purpose. There's nothing that's going to sway you off that path. Even though it might seem that you've been redirected in the past few weeks or the past few months, you're really, I feel like they're saying you really just were trying to learn something. You were trying to release and let go of old patterns. At the same time, you were learning something about your co-creative abilities and learning maybe something about yourself and interaction with other people or situations. But you've always been in alignment with your divine purpose. And it says, trust the signs and your inner guidance, which are leading you to fulfillment. So this is a very positive message. You're being led to fulfillment here. There's nothing to be worried about. You're being led to the next steps of your highest and most important destiny path. And then for those of you that chose picking up the cards here, the azurite and chalcopyrite. Let's see. So azurite, chalcopyrite people, this one is calling my attention. And you know what? 2 cards want to come out again. So let's look at both of those. Okay. First card is sapphire, beautiful blue sapphire, throat chakra stone, ear chakra stones. So activating, again, your speech, your channeling, communication, activating your clairaudience, hearing messages. And it says, easy does it. It says, your health, happiness, and abundance require a gentle approach to life and work. So this is telling me to not push. That Mars moving into Scorpio might want to push forward and be passionate and make decisions and take action. And it's not necessarily saying to not take any actions at all, but it is saying to adopt more of that divine feminine energy of allowing and flowing and being receptive and just going with the flow and surrendering and not being hard on yourself or hard on others and not, being critical or judgmental of your situation or circumstances, because everything, again, is unfolding the way it needs to. Your health, happiness, and abundance require a gentle approach to life and work. So be gentle, be flowing, be allowing. Just kind of let it unfold, let it unfold. And I have, I look at here, this crystal angel and this kind of headdress that this crystal angel is wearing. Again, higher perceptions, getting tuned in, with the crown chakra as well as, so we got throat chakra, ear chakras. We could even say third eye chakra with that color sapphire, and crown chakra. So most of our upper centers here are highlighted, and that crown chakra with that headdress, opening up to higher wisdom and knowledge again, higher wisdom and knowledge, which is again that Sagittarius energy. And what came out with it was kyanite. And kyanite is also a blue stone. It can be green, it can be other colors, but oftentimes we see blue kyanite as the type of kyanite that is out there the most. So that again, throat chakra, ear chakras, and maybe even depending on the depth of blue, can be third eye chakra. So same chakra centers here. Make time for self-care. Taking care of yourself is essential right now. So just a little addendum message for you all that chose the azurite, to be gentle with yourself, be gentle with others, make time to nurture yourself, care for yourself, take care of yourself here in this month of November. I feel like some of you that chose the smoky quartz might be saying, well, I want another double message too. So let's go ahead just really briefly, going back to the smoky quartz people and asking for a secondary message to go with that spiritual or religious community. And this one is jumping up. Oh, very different. Ready to love again with tanzanite. Whoops. So tanzanite has this kind of bluish, purplish kind of vibration to it. Again, we're talking third eye. It makes me think of the violet flame even. There's that violet colored energy. So it has kind of hues of blue and hues of violet in tanzanite. And it says, you've healed from the past enough to open your heart to new love. So along with the very different message of spiritual community and religious community and getting together with those of like mind, we have this idea for the smoky quartz people that you're getting ready to open your heart again to new love, and not just necessarily to romantic love. Maybe it's to love of your higher soul self, love of your inner child, love of a parent. Maybe there's been some sort of rift in a family relationship or a friendship relationship. This is saying that you're ready to open up your heart chakra again and allow love to come in and allow love to flow out, okay? And so that's a very, very beautiful message as well. So I hope you've all liked this extended, long monthly angel card reading. Thanks for hanging in with me if you're still there at the end of this with me. Thank you for your comments, your sharing, your subscribing to the channel, connecting with me on Facebook and through my website as well. I love each and every one of you. I send you all lots of love and light and many, many angel blessings.